Welcome everyone to Vic's House of Rock. Your host, Victor Nichols, is to my left, and I am co-hosting today, asking all the juicy questions.
Oh yeah.
Aaliyah Kate DiMolanta. So, Victor, let's talk about your recent trip to Vegas.
Recent trip to Las Vegas. That
Yes.
trip was actually put together by my dear friend Charles Waller.
Yes.
Okay. And the purpose of the trip was to meet and go see Mr. George Benson, who was playing at the Wynn Hotel. And George, I was fortunate enough to meet George through Charles some years back, and I was actually able to have him on one of the covers of one of my magazines, Northbound magazine.
Yeah, we need to backtrack this and kind of break this down because
And where that the lineage
yes,
is. Yeah.
because there's something so special in not only who Vic is, but what Vic does. And he does it so well and so naturally. This comes as second nature to you. And I'm sure you've heard this not just from me, but from plenty other people whose lives you've touched, whether it be, you know, a single moment or, you know, like a hugely. But you're so good at putting the right people together. And I think you need to tell people how did Charles and you even happen? Like, who even is Charles?
Well, Charles Waller is pretty much as known as the songwriter's songwriter. I mean, he is really he's been in the music business for a long time. He's worked with so many greats, like so many greats.
Yes.
I mean, I would
Dionne Warwick.
Yes, and to
O.C. Smith.
and to name many,
Just
you'd
to name a few.
you'd probably be better off checking out his resume than for us
Absolutely.
to sit here for now until the end of tomorrow, going
Yes.
over all the people he's worked with and
It's
the
been-
records that he's been involved in.
Yes.
But he's also a very dear friend.
Yeah.
And he also understands the importance of bringing people together and tying together not just music, but individuals that can do things together. So after he and I had met, and was many years ago, it's, you know, it's longer than I can remember now, we realized that the two of us had many things in common. And like I said, he was able to, his good friend, George Benson, he asked him to do it, and George immediately said, sure, I'd be happy to do it. And, you know, to be on the cover. And then as that relationship started to grow, I started to get to know George, went to a few of his concerts, went to a concert in New Brunswick and then JPAC and different places. And the years kind of rolled on by.
Yeah.
So this concert in Las Vegas that we just came back from, he was there for 2 nights, and really, I also wanted to have an opportunity to understand where he was and what he was doing. So going to that, you know, concert was absolutely awesome, and he was fantastic. And I'm sure we'll have some clips that we can show folks.
Absolutely. I think it was an honor to see him live. I mean, growing up listening to George Benson as a kid, you know, my parents listened to all of his music. You know, I'm so grateful that they exposed me to that kind of music, because I mean, you don't see a lot of that. Well, you don't see any of that at all in today's society, unfortunately.
Yeah, you don't. The newcomers are not really doing that, where the music is kind of melded together from a jazz perspective, a blues perspective, a pop perspective. There's all of that in the length and breadth of what George has done throughout his career.
Yeah, and I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now, because you don't understand it when you're a little kid. I mean, my dad introduced me and exposed me to all of the greats when I was younger, and I've only started appreciating it recently, in these recent years, because when you're older, you understand a little bit better, and you learn to truly appreciate what real music is. And having met Charles, I understand why he's called the singer's producer. I mean, I've tried to work with other folks in the past, and it just didn't work out. And I always wondered, like, what is it me? Like, am I the problem? You know, maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe there's a chance that some of that might be true, but I also feel the thing that makes Charles stand out among the people that I've worked with and many other folks is he tends to know a singer's sound better than they know their own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've struggled with I still do. I still struggle a bit trying to find my way in figuring out who I am.
And I think part of the magic of that, though, is being able to point that out to a singer, performer, or an artist, but also making sure that that artist doesn't lose who they are.
Yes.
Okay. It basically it's basically pulling out what's already there.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay? It's
yes.
already there because he does not try. And all of the things I've listened to him, and I've obviously seen him in the studio and the way he operates. He's firm and he knows what he wants and he knows what he's looking for.
Yes.
But he does not stifle the artist. He guides the artist. They're more. I look at him. I look at Charles as more like guardrails on a highway.
Yes.
He's keeping you on the road.
Yes.
But he's not telling you exactly what lane to be in.
Yes.
You know?
And I'm so grateful that you're so good at what you do, because when I had told you that, you know, I'm a singer and I do this, you know, I've tried to pursue it in the past and it just didn't work out. And, you know, you gave me another shot at it, which I'm so grateful for.
I mean, I heard, look, I'm not a producer. I know what I think sounds good. I think doesn't, having played in a band for almost 43 years now. You know, obviously not as a living, of course, but, you know, having been in part of the music scene, I kind of have an idea of what I think sounds good and what doesn't sound good. When I first heard some of the things that you had sent me, I immediately sent it to him. I immediately sent it to Charles.
That makes me want to cry.
And I said, with a note, I said, Charles, check this out.
Yes.
And a few days had gone by. It might have even been a couple of weeks had gone by. And he said, oh, Vic, by the way, I did get that stuff you sent me. And I also shared it with George. And he was like, and George had the same feeling I felt, is that, you know, we need to do something with her.
Yeah.
Something has to happen with her. We got to do something with her. And that's when the evolution of where you are today. And now you have, you know, recently completed 2 songs that have been released.
Yes.
And you're on that journey.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how that came about.
I think one of the things that stood out to me, in getting to know Charles, when you had sent him like one of the first videos that he ever looked at, one of the first things he said, and I never used to take criticism well. I used to, I was very much against it because I didn't like, no one likes being critiqued. Right?
No one.
But when he called me out on this specific thing, I knew he was someone I wanted to work with. So he had called me and he's like, I loved what you did. However, I need you to stop sounding like other people, because I can tell that you're trying to sound like someone else. You have the voice. You have it. You know, you are your own person. It's okay to, you know, to want to emulate.
Well, we're all influenced. I think we're all influenced by other people.
But you want to take what you want to take pieces from your favorite artists and make it into your own. And
I don't think you can. I don't think any of the greats have never done. I mean, they all have done it. You know, but like you said, you take those pieces and you make them your own.
And I have this has always been a recurring theme in my life, where I like to imitate. I like to imitate the people that I look up to. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to do it my way, because I think I do have something to offer, you know, and there's a rawness and authenticity that people gravitate to when you make something your own and when you're unapologetically yourself. I think it hits a lot harder, and that's something that Charles has taught me in the short time of me knowing him. he's like, I need you to focus on being an artist. I need you to feel the words.
Right.
Because when you feel the words, you give your best performance. And I didn't understand that then, because when you're younger, you're so focused on not messing up because you're so afraid of being criticized, and you're afraid of, people aren't really afraid of failure. People are afraid of failing in public. And that's something.
That's where stage fright comes in. That's where speaking in front of in public places and speaking in front of large groups and things like that.
Oh my goodness. When I tell you, if you had met me years ago, you'd be like, who is this girl? Who is this girl? I could not sing on a stage for the life of me. That was the thing I was most afraid of.
Not unusual.
I was so afraid. It's crazy. And I went to LaGuardia, and I felt so inferior to everybody else because they all exuded this confidence that I didn't seem to have then.
Which had nothing to do with talent. It had to do with just the confidence part.
It's just finding that confidence was so difficult for me. I didn't have it. And I have my moments where I'm like, I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have done that. But, everything happens for a reason. I'm a sole believer of that. But, now all I want to do is to perform on a stage. All I want to do is because it's not about me anymore. It was never about me. And that was something that I had to really learn. When you're performing, you're doing it for other people. You're putting on a show for other people. You're making people feel good. You're taking people out of their reality, and you're making people feel something. There's something so fulfilling when at the end of the night someone comes up to you and says, "Thank you for making my night." And I don't feel like I sang my best, but every gig I do try to, my goal is to give it my all, no matter where my level is at.
You're also pulling the energy from the audience.
Yes.
That's the other thing. And of course, mentioning probably one of the most famous performers of all, somebody like a Michael Jackson. When you would talk to people who worked with him, they said, when he would get on stage, as everybody knew, when he was off stage, he was very, he was shy.
Yes.
But when he was on stage, he was a different person. And that came from pulling the energy from the audience.
Yeah.
And it's the same is true when you're doing a live performance. It's different than being in a studio. It's different than all of the other ways we express our music. When we have an audience, we're different.
Yeah.
Music is different. The performance is different. So I completely agree with you how, you pull that.
Yeah. So I do have a couple questions for you because we come from two very different generations, obviously, or not so obviously. But social media has been such a huge force in any aspect of anyone's life. And I'm sure it's done it's made a lot of impact on your life, whether it be, business or, music wise. You've been in a rock band for how many years? You've been playing music for
almost 43.
And you have a collection of guitars, and I'm sure that there was no social media back then for you to decide on which guitar to buy.
No, that is so true.
Right?
We as musicians, especially young musicians, we were, of course we saw things on television set on the TV, which was, whether it be concerts, whether it be, different snippets or interviews and things like that. But we really experienced our music through music stores.
Okay.
Two kinds of music stores. Record stores. Okay. That's why albums opened up and they had pictures in them and they had stories and they had the lyric
quality.
Some of them had posters in it. You bought it, you opened it up and you put the poster up on your wall and you engaged with the album. You learned about the band as you're listening to the album.
It was a full experience.
Right. It was an immersive experience. And it was a timed experience. It wasn't, you spent the time doing it. You weren't doing something else. You weren't playing with your phone and all these other things.
Right.
Then what happened on the music side, the actual instrumental side, that was influenced by the music stores who sold instruments, because that was your first interaction with an instrument. Okay. So you went to the music store. Your first interaction for many kids and younger people with an instrument is seeing it on social media. You know, watching a performer, you know, watching Taylor Swift or whatever it is. They're like, oh, that looks like fun. Let me try that. We went to the store. The literature was there. There was Guitar Player magazine and things like that. And we learned about equipment, and we learned about sounds, and we learned about how to, you know, tune our guitars and all kinds of different things. So I remember South Orange Music Center in the South Orange Village. It was a music shop, and I was eyeing a guitar for the longest time.
Yes.
Okay. And I ended up going to another shop down the street around the corner where I bought my first guitar when I went with my dad, where I bought my first Fender Mustang. That was,
Wow.
but I went there several times and I looked at it, I picked it up, I played it. I'm really not to play much. But I was like, I like this. It's small, it's whatever. But that was my first interaction with the instrument itself.
Wow.
Touching it, hearing it, plugging it in. Wow, this whole electric thing, you know, it's different now. You know,
For sure.
It's very different now.
Is it difficult? Would you consider it difficult to be able to access and test out a guitar before you buy it now?
That's such a great question. Okay. Because I'm not sure that I'm just going to say it's more different than it is worse or better.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because there are still, at least here in the United States, there are still stores like Guitar Center where you can go down to Guitar Center, take a guitar off the wall and play it. Okay. And when that stops happening, things are going to change.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. It's already happened in other countries. There's other countries where there are no more music stores. Everything is online. So now you pick something, you have to buy it. It's sent to you, play it, blah, 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 blah. I don't like it. Now you got to send it back.
Right.
But you actually have to do the transaction, purchase it. You can't go in and play 20 different guitars on an afternoon and say, I want that one.
I mean, a perfect example would be Emerald, because
Yes, this is a great example.
they're not in store.
Emerald is not in any store in the United States at all. I don't even think they're any store in the world. They don't sell that way.
So, and you found them on social media.
I found them on YouTube.
YouTube. Yes.
Somebody was talking about them.
What was the deciding factor there?
Two things that made me interested in at least checking them out. Certainly it wasn't the price, because they're not cheap. Okay. They're an expensive guitar and they're not ashamed of it. Okay. The quality's there. The workmanship is there. They're not ashamed of that, and nor should they be. It's still a hell of a value, but it's also a carbon fiber guitar.
Okay.
Okay. There's no wood in it at all. Okay. They're completely carbon fiber, molded, high quality guitars. And for those of you who are not familiar with carbon fiber, it's what they make boats out of. Okay. It's an incredibly durable material. What drew me to it was A, it's light. B, it's impervious to moisture, cold, temperature changes. I just the other day I had left my X20 out on the stand for a month, because I do have so many guitars. I don't play it every day. I play other guitars, whatever. And I picked it up, and a month later, the guitar is in perfect tune.
No way.
In perfect tune. Sitting up on a stand, not even in a case, in perfect tune.
There was no
breathing. The wood didn't move. I picked it up, I scrubbed it. I'm like, holy crap, I don't even have to tune this thing.
That's amazing.
You know, so I've fallen in love with the substrate, but more importantly, with the craftsmanship.
Yeah.
And I'm actually proud to say that I loved it so much. I reached out to him and said, look, guys, I know you guys don't have stores, and I know you have like this ambassador program. Would love to be an ambassador, because I own more than one.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to try it out here in the United States around where I live, I will come and meet with them. They can play my guitars and make a decision, because they don't have an opportunity to play, you know?
Right. And what is their customer service like?
The customer service is excellent. It's boutiquey.
Yes.
I think bandwidth wise, because they are growing, it's not the same. I mean, it's not like, American Express kind of customer service, because I don't think they have the bandwidth, but they do get back to you. They're out there, they're playing, they're doing things, and they get back to you and they answer your questions. I had a problem that I created with one of the parts. Okay, it was a problem that I created. It was created that I created.
Sounds like.
And I got in touch with them, and they called me. And they said, "Hey, Vic, here's our suggestion. Yes, you can always send it back to us and we'll repair it." But they gave me several suggestions that I didn't even think of where I could get it repaired here. So I'm like, oh, I don't have to ship this back to Ireland and all the rest of it. And I went with their suggestion and I got it repaired. So it's that kind of customer service.
That's amazing.
That I wouldn't have known where to go,
and you don't,
to get it done.
You don't get that very often. And
less and less.
You feel more inclined to do business with companies like this because they truly take care of you.
Yeah, and you can talk to the people who are making the instrument. Now, and I realize as companies grow, that gets harder to do.
Right.
But then what you need to do is to bring more people in who can still deliver that kind of service.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't forego that service because you're big. You bring in people who can still provide that service.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing.
Absolutely. And are you still gigging?
Yes, I'm still gigging. After all these years, we're probably down to about 3 gigs a year, maybe 4 gigs a year. We try to also do charity stuff where it makes sense. But yeah, we have gigs. We have a gig coming up on July.
No, it's in June. Isn't it in June?
That's a private gig.
Just kidding.
Yeah, we have gig.
The acoustic band,
yes.
Just Nichols.
We have Just Nichols coming up.
July.
And that's going to be in July. And that's going to be in Bunnies.
Yes.
Over in South Orange, and we'll certainly put something up on the screen that gives you all the details for that.
Yes, for sure. He's looking at me because I'm going to be the one doing it.
And there you have it. So that's, but I think the idea, and the question was a good question because I don't want to stop gigging until I have to stop gigging. And that means physically or whatever that I guess just simply can't gig anymore.
What's your favorite thing about it?
I think it kind of spins back to earlier conversation. It's a couple things. One, I get to see friends of mine that I would otherwise not see.
Yes.
They come out to see the band.
Oh, they come out.
But I would not necessarily see them, but for the band.
Got it.
I wouldn't, and I wouldn't be able to get them together because it's not just about us. It's about them seeing their other friends who we all grew up with.
Right.
It's not just what I get out of it, it's what they get out of it, being able to reconnect with their other friends. It's almost being helpful in convening that, which I think is the most important thing to keep us all together and keep us all moving, and connected. So that's probably the biggest reason why I do it. And of course, when you play in a band because you like to perform.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
You enjoy performing. You like to perform. And that's something that I think all of us in the band, every single one of us enjoys it. Because if we didn't, not a one of us they would say, look, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
What's your favorite thing about your band?
Favorite thing about my band?
Yes.
Okay. Our band is a very unique, unique to us. It's not unique.
Everyone's got their, yeah.
I see, obviously the longevity part of it. We've been playing as long as the freaking Rolling Stones. So certainly the longevity. But I think really what it is that many bands have, like an alpha leader.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're the Doors, you're Jim Morrison. If you're Van Halen, you got you got Eddie and Alex. These are all people who are kind of leading the band.
Right.
Our situation is that we have strong personalities. We all do.
Yes, I can attest to that.
And it opens up the ability to work together as a unit because there is not one person. So we're very democratic and diplomatic about what it is that we do, whether it be material, whether it be gig that we're going to do, okay, whether it be timing, whatever it is, we're very diplomatic in that way, or democratic in that way.
I can definitely attest to that. There's also this deep, it's something I've observed in my short time of singing backups with them. There's this understanding and a deep consideration of one another.
Yes.
And
because we're all dear friends.
I love that so much about you guys, because you guys do have it out from time to time, but there's always that understanding
Every family does.
And I think you guys are so much more than just a band. You guys are family. You guys are lifelong friends. And that's I don't have much experience, because I mean your band's the only band that I really have been a part of, which I'm so grateful for. But it's very common for bands to break up and to rotate band members in and out. And it's seeing that there are bands like yours that have been a unit for as long as, for however long you guys have been together for. That's pretty amazing.
Well,
awesome.
There's definitely the core band. The newbies would be Mary Ellen, she's been in a band for 30 some odd years with Craig.
She's not a newbie.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Like, come on.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, which sounds kind of funny. I mean, those are, we laugh about it because we've been together for so long.
Yeah. And you guys are all incredible people. Seriously. I mean, it's just really great to be a part of something. Like, other people are like, oh, like it's just a band, relax. But when you're able to do what you love with other people who also love that, it makes it so much more fun. Oh, it really does.
I mean, and it is, and like you said, it is family. I mean, you look at. I mean, obviously, Jen's not currently playing with us, these days. But I mean, she joined the band 26 years ago or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then you've got Craig and Mary Ellen, who we know, but people may not know that they're married, so they're actually family.
Exactly.
Okay. Then you have Hallie,
yes,
who's their daughter. I mean, I would have people come up and say, "Who's that girl who's singing up there?" And I said, "Well, that's their daughter." And they're like, "Get out of here!" I'm like,
I just need to say, Hallie is one of the most insanely talented girls I've ever met, and I'm so grateful to be singing alongside her and Mare. I mean, Hal just put out a new song, Pearl. If you haven't listened to it yet,
unbelievable.
It brought me.
Yeah, we got to put that in there too. We got to make sure that we
brought me to tears. Beautiful song, and she's just the fact that she's so well beyond her years, and that definitely has to do with her upbringing. And
for sure.
Craig and Mare did and has been doing such an incredible job. I mean, I forget sometimes how young she is because of how well she carries herself. Well, yeah, no, the world is at her feet. She's
well, and I mean that, and I think that's offering those conduits. I mean, Sal had been out of the band for a while. When we started with two drummers, two full drummers.
Oh, Lynx.
Lynx Collins, Sal Carnival. Yeah. They started together. And started playing drums together.
Wow.
And we had two drummers for like 15 years. Then they started rotating, as we got older and in jobs and families and all that other stuff. So they started rotating out. So Neil played for a while and then Sal played for a while. Well, Sal's back.
Okay. So unfortunately we had to relocate, which is okay, it's fine.
Oh, that's cool. Moving things around.
I mean, it messes up with the whole continuity of things, but it's fine. I mean, this isn't a cinematic masterpiece, so it's okay. But where were we with our story?
Well, we're
talking about your band.
Yes, correct.
Yes, and how much fun it is because it's not your main source of income. And that applies to everyone in the band.
Sometimes it's not any source of income. But
we need to talk about that. You touched on a really good point, because this was a thing in Vegas when we met our two artists at Hard Rock Cafe. So we took it upon ourselves to head on over to Hard Rock Cafe. You met up with your
Yvonne.
friend,
Yes, with Yvonne.
Yvonne Silva. Really great artist.
Awesome.
She plays guitar, but she's also phenomenal with the looper.
Yep.
And also Joey Vitali.
Yep.
And he's also incredible singer, guitarist, and he also does the looper.
And these are individual performers. Obviously,
Yes.
they can and do play with larger bands, but they come and they do a single. But you think you're listening to a band the way they
they're
put
so
things together.
captivating.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating to watch them do their thing. And when we spoke to them, they both had this commonality where entertainment is huge in Las Vegas. We all know that. Music and entertainment, that is the thing mainly to go for. That's the main reason people go to Las Vegas.
Sounds a gambling thing, but yeah.
Right. and all the, Sin City and whatever else. But to hear from these artists that they're struggling.
Yeah, because I think what we were learning and which was fascinating is that the industry has changed.
Yes.
And because the industry has changed, it's like anything else, one has to adapt to those changes. The thing that's so cool about them is that they have adapted and continue to adapt to those changes. I mean, the idea of going to the Hard Rock at 8:00 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
Sit at the bar, order breakfast, and have live entertainment. Okay, you're not going to, I don't care where you go in New Jersey, you're never going to find that.
Absolutely not.
You're not going to find that anywhere. I don't care where the hell you go. Okay, unless it's in your own damn house, you're not going to find it.
I don't even think they do that at the Hard Rock and AC.
No, I'm sure they don't. I'm sure they don't, because I would have known about it by now.
It's fascinating.
But see, that's innovative in and of itself. Because I remember the first time I saw it and I asked, they're like, "Oh no, we haven't been doing this a long time."
Wow.
Okay, it's a new way to market, to bring in people. So guess what? As I'm there, I'm listening to them. Certainly, I'm buying breakfast in a place I didn't expect to even walk into for something like that. Oh, and then I see who else is playing there. Maybe come back later that night or another night and see some of the bands that might be playing upstairs. It's all about the promotion and building that, because the industry has changed.
Right.
And
I mean, I guess I didn't really think about this before Yvonne said it to us, but the whole process of even auditioning and how strenuous it is and how lengthy it is for no reason, asking her to do these things that aren't even required. It's like, whoa, what's the point?
Part of that's about control, conformity.
So crazy.
What kind of clientele they have and how they think they're going to respond to the entertainment and all of those other pieces. Hey, you're being employed. Your employer's asking for a particular thing, and you've got to adjust if you want to be employed at that particular establishment. And it's just like, when you get a wedding gig and they send you a list. Well, if you want the gig, you're going to learn the list. If you don't want the gig, you're not going to learn the list.
Very true. I gotta say, I blame the DJs for taking our jobs. Yeah, we're not needed anymore.
Yes.
We're not needed as much.
Yes and no. It depends on where it is. I mean, for somebody like me, there's not a snowball's chance in hell I'm going out to see a DJ in lieu of seeing a live.
Fair enough.
A live performance, and I don't care where, when, how. If there are two places and there's a DJ and a live performance, I'm going to the live performance 900%.
Fair enough.
Done.
The need for, live music just isn't as prevalent anymore. And
it isn't. Because I don't think it's also as lucrative in that, at that level. It's not as lucrative
unless
in the bar scene,
Yes, and that kills me, because I love playing at local pubs. I love that. There's something so there's something so fulfilling about singing in an intimate place, something very small, intimate. I love that. Like the setting. I feel like the connection is a lot stronger when you're in an intimate setting as opposed to
For sure.
a grand stage performing in front of thousands. It's hard to. It's hard to make that connection.
Maybe you can make connection with the 10 people in the front row.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but then it becomes a whole like weird dynamic, and I don't think I'm comfortable with that. Well, I could sing.
Well, sure.
I could
I
put
know
on a
what you
show.
mean. You'd rather be in a more
But I'd
intimate
rather-
setting.
yes.
Than what comes along with the want or the desire to
Yes.
be in a more intimate setting is you're not going to get paid as much. So if you're doing it for the Benjamins, you've got to look at what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Okay, because an establishment owner, and I would say this all the time, an establishment owner doesn't care if you come in there and play a kazoo out of your ass. Okay, if you are bringing in people, they're going to say, we've got the best kazoo ass player I hear, and they're bringing in 400 people who are drinking and eating my food. I don't give a shit what they do.
Fair enough.
Right? But
Fair
if you
enough.
come in there and say, I want to do this, 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 and this, and you don't have the folks to back it up, and they're not making money, doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
Who cares? Right?
Yes.
This is about business. This is about money. And that's, I think, a lot of artists grapple with that.
Well, yeah. I mean, because we want to pursue our art.
Correct.
We want to pursue our career, but we also want to make money. I mean, we have to pay
gotta-
bills,
right.
right? So
You gotta eat.
where is that medium? Where is that
And I think
middle?
I think it has always and is still evolving. As times change and tastes change and things change. I mean, look, we have no idea what AI is going to have the impact.
Oh my
on
God, that's another thing
on
we could
original
go on for
music
days
moving
about.
forward. We have no idea. I think we very well might be at the tail end of real original music. We might be at the tail end.
Hilarious. That reminds me of when we were backstage. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet George Benson. I was able to meet his son, he was
Oh, Marcus
so
is
kind.
awesome. Marcus is the best guy ever.
But I met Randy Waldman.
Yes, Randy's awesome.
Oh
Such
my
a talented
goodness.
person.
He
Oh my
is
God.
currently the musical director for George, but he has worked with some of the greatest people ever. His work history is crazy.
Oh yeah.
I told Charles goes, "You met Randy?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "What do you think?" I'm like, "No, he's absolutely phenomenal." I mean, he's the musical director for George, right? He started laughing. He goes, "Look him up and look who he's worked with, and then come back to me." He's
got an
such a
incredible,
great guy.
doesn't he? And he's so just calm, cool, humble.
Yes,
kind of a guy.
and that was why I didn't really like.
And ultra talented.
So we were having that conversation. He goes, "Oh my God, you're the one with the new song." I'm like, "Oh my God, you know I exist. This is great." And we talked about how hard it is in the music industry now.
Yep.
And then we mentioned AI, and he said jokingly, he's like, "Yeah, so we don't even need people like you anymore."
Right. I mean,
I'm like, "But you know what?
I mean that's tongue in cheek, but there's a
But,
certain amount of truth to it.
There's a little bit of truth to that. I mean, I was just listening to a podcast, and Scarlett Johansson was asked by an agency if they could use her voice for something. She said no, but they proceeded to use her voice anyway. So it's like, where would this line be drawn?
Well, and it's only going to continue to move forward because not only that, then you can have, if you think about it, in that particular situation, you could have a slight variation of her voice, slight variation of her tonal quality that you would mistake it for her, but it wasn't an exact duplicate of her. Then what can she do? Right?
And they could get away with it.
Of course, they can get away with it.
It's like this isn't
This isn't
her
an exact
yeah.
replication. This is a reasonable facsimile. Sorry, we can do this. So there's going to be obviously I think the people who are going to come out on top of the AI, revolution are the lawyers.
Okay.
The lawyers are the ones who are going to come out because everybody and their grandmother's grandmother is going to be suing. They're going to be the Don Henleys of the world and sue everybody on the planet for using their shit. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know.
But you know what? I guess all we can really do is just revel in every moment in the present and take it. And that's what I'm doing now. You know, I'm just taking it day by day because, again, I don't know where music is going to take me, but I'm grateful to even have the opportunity and to even be here at all doing this. And again, this is my testament to the power Vic has and the talent that he has, being able to bring the right people together, and he does it so naturally. It's insane. And I do try to follow in your footsteps and do that with work. I mean, I meet certain people and I'm like, this is someone so-and-so can meet. I can see it. I mean, I don't know exactly how, but I see it.
And you'll get better, and you'll get better at that too.
Yeah,
as you progress, you get better at that. I always like to say when I, sometimes teach some of the classes at the, either at Rutgers or at Fairleigh Dickinson, I say this is one gigantic game of concentration.
Yeah,
it is. It's having seen and know something over here, and maybe 5 months later, you're like, now I know how these two things go together.
Yes,
okay?
yeah.
And then you then have to have the wherewithal to put it together where it's meaningful. It's not just simply, there's the art of passing off a lead, okay? What I call passing off a lead, which is, I want to meet such and such. And you're like, sure, no problem. And you send a text or an email and you're done and you're out. Then there's the actual facilitated lead where it is, you want to set up, I'll set up a lunch and we will go out to lunch and we will all look each other in the eye and we'll turn our phones off and we're going to have a deeper conversation as to what it is. Those are apples and Volkswagens.
Yeah.
Okay. They're two completely different things. There's a place for both. I'm not slighting one over the other. I'm just saying that the meaningful ones happen in person, not through digital means. At least in my opinion, in my experience. I'm not even going to say my opinion. I'm going to say in my experience.
Yeah.
That's just the way, maybe I'm old fashioned. It's the way the way I've built my businesses. That's just the way I operate. And I know a lot of my other friends / peers and everybody else. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
And they have their way of doing it. And they're like, yeah, Vic, I'm in person, man. I got to go. I got to be there. And others are like, no, the Zoom thing and blah, blah, blah. If it works for you, it works for you. But I really think that there's something lost because the long-term relationship, okay, the long-term relationship happens in person. This is a full contact sport.
Yeah.
Okay, full contact sport. You've got to put the time in to build a relationship.
Yeah.
So that's just my 2 cents on that.
And I also think, in addition to that, I think what you do it with full authenticity, and you're so genuine and intentional with what you do, how you do it, and who you decide to meet, and having spent a lot of time and working with you, it's so fascinating to see you do your thing, because I'm also learning and trying to apply that and do that. I want to be able to show up as authentic as possible.
And, you just said something that was probably one of the most important things you will say. Show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show up. Don't mail it in. Don't text it in.
Yeah.
Don't Zoom it in.
Yeah.
Show up. Okay? Because the people who show up, I don't care what anybody says. The people who show up get a whole hell of a lot further.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and by the way, show up on time.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, show up on time.
If you arrive 15 minutes early, you're on time.
Right.
If you show up on time, you're late.
There you go.
And so I guess we'll wrap this up with one more question.
Sure.
What what are your plans for Vic's House of Rock? Why are you doing this?
I'm so glad you asked me that question because I know I wasn't planning on asking that question. But I'm so glad you did because the whole idea of Vic's House of Rock, when I thought about it and have been continually thinking about it, is I want to create I'll call it a platform, a channel, whatever it is you want to call it, a place for musicians, professional musicians, amateur musicians, ones who are just trying to get started, all shapes and sizes, to have a conversation about the journey.
Yeah.
This is about the journey of music and sharing those stories. One, it helps memorialize those journeys a bit, right? There's that piece. There's a memorialization of it.
Yes.
It's also sharing those journeys because everybody who's within this musician milieu of ours has experienced very similar things.
Yeah, we're not unique.
Okay, very similar things, and having that experience on all different levels can help musicians along the way.
Yeah.
So, I intend to have, real, like, musicians who are, Grammy Award winning musicians. And I have musicians who are just starting out in their basement, everywhere in between, original folks, all kinds of different things going on. But the long and short of it is Vic's House of Rock is telling the story of music.
Yes, you heard it right here, folks. So
That's it.
if you'd like to be featured,
Yep.
follow us, tag us, Vic's House of Rock. It'll be shown somewhere here after I edit this.
Yeah. And we'll begin that journey.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And we're done.
And we're at.
Yes.